Vow, view, vow, view, vow, view, vow, view, vow to view, vow, 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 vow to view,
vow to view each other's movies, even though we don't always like them, but it's okay because we love each other and movies too.
Hello, and welcome to Vow to View, a Daily Planet podcast all about marriage and the things we make each other watch. My name is Elyse Daly.
What are you doing?
Say your name.
Oh, and I'm Scott Daly.
And together, we're the Dalys.
I don't understand.
I thought you were going to try and do your high voice.
No.
You're practicing that.
You didn't tell me this before you started.
You should have been able to tell by the fact that I was doing my deep voice.
Well, I'm sorry. I just thought you were being a weirdo.
No, I was just doing what we practice.
Well, you
had a good high voice.
No,
and
I
had
didn't.
a good low voice. So I thought we'd just trade and then see if people could
Okay.
realize, oh my gosh, I think
Who's-
Scott's
who's
talking.
who? I
think
can't
he's
tell.
talking, but he said Elyse? What? What is this?
This is the podcast where each and every week my wife Elyse and I pick a couple movies and we make the other person watch it. She picks something for me to watch and I pick something for her to watch, and then we watch them and come on here and talk about them, talk about the movies, talk about what we liked, talk about what we learned about each other, talk about
Love. Love is a many splendid thing.
all you need is love.
Love lifts us up where we belong.
We're going to have to do that movie
All
sometime
you need
soon.
is love.
It's Moulin Rouge. Moulin
All you
Rouge.
need is love. Bum, bum, ba-da-da.
This week, Elyse has a puppy in her lap.
Yes, we are outnumbered by dogs this week. We're
Yeah.
dog sitting for my parents, and so we've got 3 dogs.
3 dogs.
3, all different sizes, all different colors. We have the Neapolitan of puppies with us this week.
It's ridiculous.
It's a lot.
To our listeners out there that have more than 2 dogs, I don't know how you do it.
We done know how you do it.
And that's last week's episode's reference. Speaking of last week, Elyse,
Yeah. What about
we
last
got
week?
a lot of people
Yeah.
were mad at you
Me?
for saying you don't like musical episodes of television shows.
I love musical episodes when they're done with correct talent. I do.
And we had one commenter who was very upset at me.
Upset at you? Why?
Yeah, because I was apparently mean to you.
Why are you mean to me? I'm used to it by now, so
Because
enlighten me.
I did not accept your valid criticism of the Buffy musical episode.
You know, you don't understand music, so it's fine.
You don't understand television, so it's fine.
I mean, I understand television. I understand musicality a lot more than you. I would not
understand
beg to find some sort of time to talk about, like, movie theory with you. I would not, because I know that you are far more educated than I am
we could do
on
that.
that.
That'd be fun.
But I think if you're talking about a quality musical performance, I think I've got you down there.
I don't think my argument was ever that they're good singers. I don't want to redo this again.
Okay.
You were correct. They are not none of
Thank you.
the cast, with maybe one exception. I think Giles was a pretty good singer.
He was decent.
Anthony Stewart Head.
Anthony Bourdain.
No. They were not. They're not great singers. My argument was that I don't think that matters, but that's fine.
If it was one song, like the movie that you chose this week, had a song in it sung by one of the actresses, and you could tell, and it wasn't of like amazing musical quality, but I will say that in that, it was not supposed to be an extreme technical song, and I thought that it sounded great that way. But, you know, when you're trying to actually do a musical, you kind of have to have a little bit more musical quality to it. And that's all that I was saying with it.
Okay.
So, what are we doing this week? Or what did we do this week, Scott?
This week, we couldn't come up with a theme,
Ah,
so we just did like
sorry, guys. My creative juices are not always flowing.
Did like a potpourri,
a poopery?
a
A poopery?
a grab a bag.
Poopery?
We just looked at my movie shelf and we said, what movies has Elyse seen and not seen?
Yeah.
And then vice versa. So we picked movies that we knew the other person hadn't seen, and we watched them. So there's really no theme here, but There were two pretty good
We'll
movies.
see if we can figure out a way to connect
Yeah,
them.
we'll play that game near the end of it.
Yeah, I always like that game.
Before we get into those movies, though, Elyse, I made you see a scary movie. We just got back from it.
Oh, yeah.
We just got
It was
back from
good.
a scary movie. We saw A Quiet Place. And you decided that even though this movie looked very scary, you wanted to see it. Why is
It didn't look
that?
super scary to me. I am okay with monster movies. There are certain types of scary things that I can handle. And monster movies like that, where I know that that monster, that alien type thing is not real,
You don't know that.
I am fine with.
It could be real.
Well, if it's real, there's no scientific... there's not anything...
You backed yourself into a corner. I want to see you dig yourself out of this hole.
There may be scientific proof of certain extraterrestrial beings
I'm
being
really... Where
alive.
are you going with this?
I don't know. I just don't think that these particular creatures are here, and if they are, now we know how to defeat them.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
No spoilers for the movie.
I'm not. But no, the trailer was really interesting to me. I liked how it had played with sound in it, and I really liked the actors that were in it.
John Krasinski.
And I liked the story behind
And
how
Emily
both
Blunt.
of them got to be into the movie, cast in the movie. And so...
Yeah, naturally, Elise's interest in the movie had to do with the fact that these two people are married and in love, and therefore she's into it.
That's not entirely it. But, I mean, I think it's good that there are different things that bring people to the movies. And one of the things that I like is the actors. And so if there's an actor that I really like and I really like their body of work, then I will likely go see that movie. And I think that, like what we talked about doing for next week, I am one of those people where if it's an actor, I will go see it. You're one of those people where if it's a director, you will go see it. And
Director, writer.
Yeah.
I'll see
So
actors.
we each have our specific...
Like my actor from this week, I will see anything that my actor's in.
Yeah. I think we have our specific box office draws, and mine are the actors.
Yeah, but yours
and
are
is
always...
different.
Yours are not just... Yours are very specific actors, and you like couples. If a couple makes something... You like that thing.
Name something other than this one where that falls true.
I can't think of that right now. You can't just throw that at me right now. I'm
Okay.
not prepared.
Okay. But I do want to bring up one sad tidbit of news.
Oh yeah, breaking relationship
because,
news on our marriage podcast.
You know, I've asked Scott to let me do some sort of I can't even think, tabloid, like a 10-second tabloid. Oh, we could do something like that. But this week's 10-second tabloid is brought to you by the fact that Channing Tatum and Jenna Dewan Tatum are getting a separation. They met on the Step Up movie. They were married. They have one kid, but now they're splitting up amicably. Done.
She did it in 10 seconds,
I
guys.
did.
I counted. Yeah. Hey,
It's
turns
kinda
out when you and your spouse are in the exact same line of work,
And that's what they were talking
creates
about
tension.
today, was that, you know, both of them are very focused on their careers, and because their careers take them to places other than their home, unless you have a spouse who is probably willing to at least follow or give you a lot of that time, your relationship is going to suffer. So, you know, they were saying that they still completely love each other. They're still the best of friends. They still want the best for each other. It's just that they, I think, have found that building the relationship is causing
It's more work
a little
than
bit more
they.
strife.
It's more work than they are willing to put into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, that kind of career, I can't imagine keeping a relationship up. Not like podcasting. Podcasting.
I know we have to talk to each other. Gosh,
Yeah, that's like that.
what a drag.
You know what world I would not survive in?
What?
A Quiet Place world.
Oh no, you would
I
not.
couldn't, you just
I
tell me I
would.
can't. Whoa.
What? Sometimes the silence is nice.
You used to like to sing too much.
I can
And
sing in
listen
my
to
head
music.
still, but I could still listen to. And she listens to music on her iPod.
I guess.
So it's not like it's completely quiet. It's just you have to know when.
So now
how
that
loud you
you're
can
like pro horror movie, we need to have a horror movie.
I'm not
week.
pro horror movie.
No, you just saw one. It's the floodgates are open now.
No, they're not.
We're gonna finish this podcast and we're gonna watch it, and then we're gonna watch It Follows.
We're gonna finish this
And
podcast,
then we're gonna follow that
and
up with
then
It
we're
Comes
gonna go
at
watch
Night.
the British Baking Show, because I still have at least one episode you're gonna let me watch this week with you.
You did not appreciate my It movie joke.
No, I didn't.
There's so many horror movies with it in the
I
name.
saw It Follows. I actually liked It Follows.
You saw It Follows?
Yeah, I watched it one
yeah.
day whenever you
I was
were
gone.
working, and it was the summer, and
That's
I
a
was
scary
at home.
ass movie.
I watched it in the
That
day
movie
with all the
scared the
lights
shit
on,
out of me.
but it was good.
Man, see, the whole Elyse does not like horror. It's over. You can't hide behind that anymore. We're seeing It Chapter 2 next year.
You know, and we also saw another movie that could have been horrific this week if it were maybe made at this day and time where the blood didn't look like red paint. We saw Death on the Nile this week.
Oh, she's transitioning.
Which was the movie that I chose for Scott to watch.
Yes.
Which is not as scary as the horror movies. I will give you that.
That's because it's a murder mystery.
By the title, there was some death in it, and there's usually some death in horror movies.
There was the death. There was the Nile. And it happened
there
on
was
it.
Death on the Nile.
At least tell me about Death on the Nile.
So Death on the Nile was a movie that came out in 1978. The screenplay was written by Anthony Schaffer and directed by John Gluman. I don't know if I said that right. He also did
Guillermin.
King Kong. Guillermin. My contacts get blurry at nighttime. He also directed King Kong in 1976 and The Towering Inferno, which I have not seen.
Yeah, that's the 70s King Kong, not the original King Kong.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I said the screenplay was written by Anthony because this was based on an Agatha Christie novel of the same name.
Yeah, this is part of her Hercule
Poirot. Yes.
series.
And so this movie was Poirot enjoying a luxurious cruise down the Nile, and joining him was a newlywed heiress, but she is found murdered on board. So the question is, can Poirot identify the killer before the ship reaches the end of its journey?
Yes.
Spoiler, he did.
He of course he does. He's Hercule
And
Poirot.
spoiler, it was kind of possible for them to reach it before the end of the journey because they took a pit stop so that they could find some evidence and dig for it. But, you know, it's fine.
Yeah. So why'd you pick
So
this movie?
I picked this movie. I don't exactly remember when I started watching this movie or just the Poirot movies in general. I think it was probably when I was in maybe 6th or 7th grade, because I was thinking the only explanation I can think of as to why this movie was pointed to me was in 8th grade, we read a novel in our English class that was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie.
Mm-hmm.
And my assumption is that maybe because my sister was reading that, my mom started thinking about Agatha Christie, and so she maybe had us rent and watch this movie. I don't exactly remember the first time that I saw it. I just remember that I really had enjoyed it, and the scene where they had stopped off the boat and they were walking through the ruins and then the stone is pushed. That's something that I vividly remember in my head.
It's a very powerful scene. I mean, it's done. You kind of do first person perspective of the killer.
Yeah.
And see him push the stone or her.
So that's, I guess, how I had first maybe had it enter my path. But I like mystery movies.
Mm-hmm.
I like movies where it requires you to think a little bit and not everything is necessarily spelled out for you. And when I was younger, I didn't really like to read a whole lot. And the genre that got me into like finding actual books that I read on my own for pleasure was mystery. And so I enjoy mystery books.
Mystery novels
and
are
mystery
great.
movies. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like a good mystery film as well. And this was pretty good timing, I think, because the Murder on the Orient Express came out last year.
Yeah.
The Kenneth Branagh version, and did well enough that they're going to do Death on the Nile next. So
I wonder if they're going to do it called Death on the Nile, because when I was reading, they almost changed the title from the book, because this Death on the Nile was the name of the book.
Mm-hmm.
But because they were making it the series of Murder on the Orient Express, and then they were going to do Death on the Nile, they almost named it Murder on the Nile to make it kind of in a grouping.
I think they're going to
keep it Death on the Nile?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but the
Maybe they'll
the
change
cast
it.
of this thing.
Oh yeah,
Stacked.
There's so many people in here that are very well known.
Yeah, Mia Farrow, Maggie Smith,
Angela Lansbury.
Yeah.
Ugh, she's
George Kennedy.
wonderful.
Poirot is played by Peter Ustinov, who's actually a pretty well-known actor. Although I know I've seen him before. I can't remember what I've seen him in, but he was a pretty well-known actor. Yeah. So I had never seen this movie. Obviously, that was the whole thing this week.
Did you like it?
I did. I liked it a lot. I've never read an Agatha Christie novel. I've never read one. And I love murder.
I've read one.
I love murder mystery. I just have never done it. But I have been a fan of Hercule Poirot for a very long time, and that's mostly because of my grandmother, who loved mystery stories. She read all kinds of mystery books. She watched mystery movies and mystery television shows. And when she would come visit us when I was a little kid, she would be on our upstairs TV in our game room watching these murder mystery shows. My grandmother didn't sleep very much. She was up very, very late and up very, very early and was always reading a book or watching a show or something like that.
You sound very much like your grandmother.
It's true. Now, the Poirot that I remember my grandmother watching was not this version. It was the BBC TV show that ran for like a decade and a half. And it starred David Suchet as Poirot. And he's this tiny man, and his version of the mustache was this tiny little mustache, and he's so prim and proper and kind of stuck up. And I just love the character so much. I love these, I'm a big fan of Sherlock Holmes. The Monk series on USA. I love these
Monk
kind
was
of
wonderful.
I love these murder mystery shows and stories with these kind of they're kind of stuck up and they have their own weird quirks and stuff, detectives, but they're also very, very good at what they do. I love the scene at the end of all these stories where the detective gathers everyone together, and it's become so cliche that it's almost too much to even do it anymore. But I still love them because you gather everyone and then you slowly walk them through one at a time through the story and through what happened, and I love those moments, and this movie did not disappoint in that regard.
I would say I like it, but when it is in the TV show, I did get kind of, as much as I loved Monk, it became kind of monotonous to me because it was just the same thing over and over again. It felt like to me. Mm-hmm. And so that's why,
did you watch that as it was live, or did you binge it? Because I think when you binge shows like that that are very serialized.
I watched it live. And then I guess my mom really liked the show, so I think we would watch reruns all the time. Yeah. On the weekend. And then my peepaw really liked that show. Yeah. So he would always watch them. And so it was more of it was just, I would watch them as they came out, but then every other time that they were on, it was still kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it
doesn't take away the fact that I loved the character.
It is a formula, and that's kind of what old TV was. I mean, the Poirot TV show that I'm talking about was definitely formulaic. There's a new murder every time. By the end of the murder, Poirot solves it. And that's kind of how this movie worked. It follows that formula. It's just a little longer.
What was that one movie that we saw with the bees with my parents?
The Sherlock, the old Sherlock one.
Is that what it was? Mm-hmm. And it was the story
Ian McKellen played a very old Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, that was a really good movie that not many people saw.
That was a really good movie.
It was very quiet and slow, and
it was beautiful.
It was very good.
I don't know why I just remembered that, but I did.
Sense. Yeah.
It was the mustache. I thought it might have been a Poirot movie. Poirot. Yeah. Yeah.
So I have very fond memories of this. My grandmother passed away a couple of years ago, and I remember we watched a bunch of Poirot television shows after that happened. Mm-hmm. That's whenever hard things happen in my life, I turn to the screen. That's what I do. So that's what I did here. Yeah, and so I've always wanted to see this movie. I've always had this on my list, and I never really got around to doing it.
Well, let me give you a reason
I know, and that's why I love this project, because now I got to sit down and watch this quite good movie. And it's long, I was kind
It
of
is
surprised.
long.
It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that is, I think it's an hour. The murder in the murder mystery does not happen for an hour and 10 minutes. It's an hour and 10 minutes into
Yeah,
the
because
movie.
Scott paused the movie, and I was like, what is he doing? And then I realized he paused it to see how far the movie had gone before the person actually died.
I don't want to criticize the movie for that. I think it is doing a very specific thing, which is taking a long time to set up each and every one of the characters. The movie like methodically sets up Poirot as if we don't know him. This is part of a series, and it's a character that's pretty well known. Agatha Christie's character is well known, but we still take time as if we didn't know who he was. And then we set up who the eventual victim is, and we define her relationship with each and every other person on this boat. And
Set up their motive,
which is
killing
important
her.
because
Yes.
we basically everyone on the boat has a motive to kill this person, and so that kind of leaves you guessing as far as who it is and why they did it, and it allows you to kind of get sucked into the mystery of the murder before the murder even happens. And I thought that was cool. And
had Poirot not really been on the boat, would they have really done anything to try and solve her murder? Because all of these
Probably
people
not.
seemed very content with the fact that she had died.
Can you imagine planning a really complicated murder, and then Hercule Poirot gets on your ship, and you're just like,
Bummer.
oh well, I
We
guess we'll have
almost
to
got away with
I
it.
guess we'll have to why would you go through with it? Because in this show or this movie, they know he's on there, and they try to remove him from the equation.
They did. They tried.
But they failed. It's like, why would you go through with the murder if this guy's on your boat?
They tried twice to remove him from the equation.
They did. Yeah. This is a fun movie. It has a large cast of characters played by a lot of very famous actors.
Mm-hmm.
I love the weaving nature of the story as we kind of work through the murder mystery, and then the death on the Nile turns into
The deaths. But really, I like what I said. Death on the Nile. Death can be plural.
Yeah, it doesn't specify. But
It
I was expecting one death. There are more.
Multiple.
There are 5 deaths on the
Are
Nile.
there 5?
Yes.
There are 5 deaths.
5 deaths on the Nile.
You think they're done dying, and then you got more.
But yeah, this was fun for me. One of the things I really enjoyed about this movie was imagining my grandmother watching this movie. My grandmother had this big, wonderful laugh, and she loved to laugh, and Poirot behaving silly in any of these stories made my grandmother laugh so much. So every time Poirot corrects people to say that he's not French, he's from Belgium, and every time he acts a little ridiculous and fussy about something, I can just imagine this big hearty laugh of my grandmother, and that was fun. I enjoyed that. It's great to me that I have such connection to this character that even if I'm seeing a movie I've never seen before, I still feel that,
Which is one of the reasons that I had wanted to watch this movie with you, was because I know how much you like this character, and you haven't really seen, I don't think, this actor play this character. No. And so it was really fun for me to be able to watch a movie that I enjoyed and see you watch a character that you enjoyed in a different way for the first time.
Yeah.
So I really liked that.
God, my grandma would have loved Kenneth Branagh's version of Poirot.
Would she?
His big, ridiculous mustache and the shot. But all these movies have shots where they show him wearing his, mustache holder. Mm-hmm. Although the Kenneth Branagh one's a little more extreme.
Yes.
But she would have thought that was hilarious.
Oh, my. Well, did you learn anything about me watching
Did I learn anything about... Maggie Smith is in this movie, and we have a dog snoring. We have a dog snoring on the couch right now who is named after Dame Maggie Smith. This is... It's there's a certain kind of movie that you really like, and it's hard to put my finger on what exactly it is, because it's not a genre. It's like a time period. Movies... late 50s, 60s, and then some 70s with large casts are movies that you like.
What else?
Huh?
Like, what else?
Well, like, I mean, everything Hepburn falls into this, I think. It's just like a certain, like, that's the weird thing is I don't know what to call it other than an Elyse movie.
I have my own genre
but
now,
this is
do I?
absolutely an Elyse movie. Like the kind of, it's kind of like the almost campy level of like dramatic acting when people are like being silly, like
Dramatic?
like Angela,
No.
like Angela Lansbury's character in this movie is like you. It's perfect you.
A drunk?
No, not the drunk part.
Okay,
she's
good.
just like, she's the murder mystery writer that's like just
Murder mystery.
overdone.
Harlequin.
Oh yeah, sorry, she's a romance.
She's a Harlequin
She's
writer.
she's a romance.
I don't know if that's
she's,
me.
And she's just like so overly dramatic, and it's like, oh, what will we do? And it's like, that's
Oh,
so
Scott, what are we going to do tonight?
exactly.
What movie shall we watch? How many episodes of the show?
You are an old soul, my love, and these are
am.
the exact kind of movies that you love.
I'm an old soul. It's true.
And it's great. The more we do this project, the more I could like, I don't know if at the beginning of this thing I would have said, yeah, this is an Elyse movie, but 5 minutes into this movie now, 13 episodes into this whole thing, 5 minutes into this movie, I was like, yeah, I see why she picked this.
You know what we should do one week is find a movie that neither of us have seen that we think falls into the category of, oh, this is an Elyse movie.
Oh, so like
or,
I pick
oh, this is
what
a
I
Scott
think is an
movie.
Elyse movie.
You pick what you think is an Elyse movie, and I'll pick what I think is a Scott movie.
I like that.
Based on what I know about the movie. Maybe it's one I've seen, maybe it's one I haven't seen. But I'm like, this is a Scott movie.
I like it. I like it.
We'll put it on the list.
All right. So that is Death on the Nile. We managed to do this without spoiling who the killer is.
Yes.
Did you ever see the Pink Panther?
Oh, yeah.
The original Pink Panthers.
Yeah, all of
I
them.
love those movies.
Those are road trip movies.
Road trip movies?
Yeah, we had a TV that we had with the VHS player, like one of those really tiny ones, and then we had the adapter that plugged in, and we'd bring tons of VHS movies. Or once, VHS transitioned out and we had DVDs, we had a DVD player for the car, and we would watch those. And we had to watch only certain types of movies because my dad couldn't watch them. He could only listen to them. And there are some movies he would not put up listening with, and some movies he would. And the Pink Panther was always on the list.
Yeah, I remember when my dad got all those movies on DVD in a set, and I had no idea what they were at the time. I was a lot younger, and I watched them all with him because I thought that was great. And now thinking on it, the reason my dad probably loved the Pink Panther was because my grandmother probably loved the Pink Panther, and he was introduced to it through her. So
It's amazing the influence your parents have on you.
did you ever see the Steve Martin Pink Panther movie?
No.
It's not very good, but it is very silly, and there are parts of it I actually do like. When Steve Martin is trying to order a hamburger.
Oh yeah, you made me watch that part. The hamburger.
I'd like to buy the hamburger.
The hamburger. Anyways.
I eat would like leak to toi. Okay, I'll stop. We're not even talking about your movie anymore. That's Death on the Nile. It was hard to track this one down. We had to buy the DVD of it. It's not available to stream anywhere. There's not a Blu-ray version that's not part of a set. So we couldn't, we had to buy the DVD at Barnes and Noble.
Thanks, Barnes and Noble.
So if you want to see this movie, you're going to have to do some digging. All right, that is Death on the Nile. We ready? We ready to move on, Elyse?
We are ready to take our little few second break. This week, we are brought to you by Dove Chocolate. Dove Chocolates, the fortune cookie of chocolates.
Wait.
Every time you open it, it has a fortune for you.
The fortune cookie of chocolates.
This one is a little bit dated because it's from Christmas and has been in my freezer. It says, Happy Holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone. We
But
will be.
It's okay. I have another one. We can see what that fortune is too.
We're not going to do that.
Yes. Well,
We will be right back.
I want to know what it is.
Murder.
Now, join the most brilliant detective of all time
Hercule Poirot.
on a mysterious journey down the Nile to the great wonders of the world, where the biggest wonder of them all is whodunit.
I feel the presence of evil all about me.
Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile. Starring Peter Ustinov
With me, it's the exercise of the little gray cells.
and 9 star suspects.
You see, we have been running in the wrong direction, you and I. We know almost all there is to know, except that what we know seems incredible. It's incredible.
Preposterous.
Outrageous.
Now, the most daring, the most deadly case of his career challenges Hercule Poirot
And it was carefully planned.
to guess who in the world done it.
But I, Hercule Poirot, have eyes which notice everything.
Mystery in first class. Murder with style. Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile.
And we are back, and it is time to do my movie.
Everybody. You're supposed to say yeah.
Yeah.
Podcast body.
Yeah.
Everybody. Podcast back. All right. Scott and Elyse are back. What?
Elyse, we picked a movie. I picked a movie.
You picked
that
a movie.
is very different from the movie you picked.
Is it? I think it's an Elyse movie too.
That's what happens when...
I think it falls into the other genre because if you really think about, yes, it's futuristic, but the stylistic choices of the setting, very much into
Maybe
my
I should introduce the movie before
aesthetic.
we get
Yeah.
into it. I picked 2013's Her, a film written and directed by Spike Jonze. The story of this movie is that in a near future, a lonely writer develops an unlikely relationship with an operating system designed to meet his every need.
Ah, it's a good synopsis
Yeah,
there,
so-
Scotty. Did you
so-
write that yourself?
I did not. Joaquin Phoenix falls in love with his computer, voiced by Scarlett Johansson. That's the basic plot of this movie. And it's one of those plots that if you say that to a person just randomly, they're probably going to be like,
Isn't that today? Like everyone's on their phone anyways, so aren't they already in love with something?
no, they're going to be like, what the heck is that? Why would you want to see a movie about that? And I think it's a tough sell for a lot of people. It was when I came out of this movie saying, you have to watch this movie is so good. And a lot of people were like, that sounds weird. And it is a little weird. But this is a movie doing a lot of complicated things. It's a movie discussing loneliness. It's discussing relationships, discussing emotions, and how we share those emotions. I love the movie opens with Joaquin Phoenix's character writing a love letter for someone else. That his job is to work at a place that writes customly written love letters to other
Handwritten
people.
letters that are not handwritten. They're
Handwritten
just
letters.
handwritten software.
Handwrittenloveletters.com is the company he works for. And he basically is writing other people's love stories while not participating in his own. He's going through a divorce. He's miserable. Joaquin Phoenix plays him with this like forever like hunch, like the way he walks, the way he sits. He's just kind of a hunched over, depressed guy until he gets an upgrade to his operating system, which is the first artificial intelligent operating system named Samantha, voiced by Scarlett Johansson. And he falls in love with this woman, and they have this connection that is absolutely real. And I love that the movie, like, this is, you could call this a science fiction movie.
See, I don't know if I would necessarily say, I think it's real on his part. It's obviously not real on her part because she's adapting to him and his responses and how he's reacting. So, is that thinking about it being a person, if you're completely changing yourself in order to meet another person's needs, are you really falling in love with yourself? I mean, that's what she's doing.
She's changing. I don't think she's changing for him.
I think at the beginning she probably was.
I think the beginning she was just trying to figure herself out. And I think the story is they're growing apart. This relationship starts and then she becomes something else. And that is a literal in the story. She is an artificial intelligence that basically by the end of the thing reaches a new plane of existence, has become so intelligent and so beyond the physical and the human that she has reached a new plane of existence. But I definitely think that the thing they had starts off as something.
I think it does to a certain extent because at least with my impression, the way that he had kind of answered the questions in order to set up his AI to be a certain way, it kind of lent that to be the type of companion that he needed. Right. You know? So I think that she had met all of those, she filled in all of those gaps. And so as she was learning how she needed to fill those in differently for him, she did begin to evolve and change, like what you said. And she did become something different and independent on her own, but I don't know. I felt like she kind of was becoming something that would just meet his needs, obviously, as opposed to just like, I don't know, something completely independent. But isn't that what her purpose was to be the companion and kind of read and change whoever it was that she was supposed to be? I
think the movie takes the time to say that the relationship between, like, relationships with OSs are statistically rare. So it's not like every single one of these operating systems is setting out to specifically make this happen for someone. So I never took it that way. I never took it the way that this was just all her programming changing its way for him. I mean, one of the things that I think is cool about this is that, like, in any other, like, this is a science fiction story, kind of, right? Like, this is a near future where there's a new technology, and it's a love story within the science fiction world, but it doesn't deal, like, there's an AI in this, but it doesn't deal with the AIs taking over the world. It doesn't fall into any of those tropes. Their relationship itself doesn't seem to be stigmatized by the world at all either. We see his ex-wife is the only person that kind of ridicules him for this relationship and calls him out on how it is being a little emotionally distant by its nature. Because
her complete issue with why, I'm guessing just based on obviously what was shown as one of the reasons they were getting divorced, was because she couldn't handle the emotion of what their relationship was, you know. And I think that is, you know, it's very easy to take a break from something that you can actually turn on and off,
right? And we see him do that. Yeah. We see him when he gets to a point where he's mad at her, he just puts it away. And I think that is very, like, the relationship between Samantha and, what is his name? I'm blanking on his name right now. Him. Yeah. Is very complicated, and there are parts of it that are beautiful. But yeah, I mean, there are parts of it that are damaging. Like, she is getting stuff out of this. It makes her feel more human to be with him, and makes him feel more human to be with her, because he's been so alone and so unable to talk to people for a while, and she is safe for him. This is not a relationship that has too much risk to it, because she is still something else. She's not human. She's not a person as much as, and I think that's telling in the movie when she tries to arrange a physical interaction by hiring someone to pretend to be her, so they can have sex. He can't handle it. He cannot handle it. He loses it. And I mean, that whole scene's weird because that whole interaction is strange to begin with, but he is like, it's not a great, like, as beautiful as it is, and as beautiful as some of the moments in the story are, you can completely understand his ex-wife's point of view that he's doing this for unhealthy reasons.
So I've been thinking about the whole time with the relationship between Samantha and him, because I don't remember his name, and I'm just going to call him him because I think that her and him works. But this is the second movie that we've seen in this week where I think that while it's kind of like technology that could be considered out there and futuristic, it's really not necessarily that far off. Mm-hmm. And while I don't feel as though we necessarily have the AI capability that we have here, I think just thinking about it really in terms of you having a relationship with someone completely through the phone and not in person.
Right.
It's almost the exact same thing. You know, it's internet dating. It is.
Well, it's the beginning of the movie when he calls that the phone sex, like this lonely singles sex line thing. Yeah.
And so it's just, it's been very interesting with me seeing this and then seeing the other movie that we saw earlier this week with the complete virtual reality thing with the Ready Player One, because I'm thinking to myself that, you know, all of those headsets that they're wearing are the headsets that they just made for like Google Cardboard sort of stuff and things like that, right? And so it's like the technology is already there in order to start it. And so it's been very interesting to see kind of how these things that, yes, they're science fiction, but they're kind of rooted in technology that is able to take place today. So they're not really that far off.
Yeah.
But both of those movies too have something kind of in common where it's with that technology, you're losing the actual, obviously, physical relationship and that level of personal intimacy between two people. And I think that both of them tell that in a different way. And I think that tells it, in my opinion, in a lot more beautiful story.
Well, I mean, you're
way,
comparing it
obviously.
to Ready Player One, which is a garbage fire. So,
but
yes.
I really enjoyed both of those messages because I just see in general with people today who are just, you know, always and forever like enamored by that. And whether it's, you know...
Well, but I don't think it's completely saying that that kind of interaction is wrong.
No, I don't think that it's wrong, but if it's the only interaction that you have, and if that is what you're relying on for your deepest level of intimacy, is where I don't think that it is.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there. Do you know how Spike Jonze came up with the idea of this?
No.
He basically heard about one of those early chat programs where you could chat with an AI bot, and he said, yeah, I sat down and you say hello, and the thing responds, why hello there? And I was like, whoa. And then, of course, like, not long after that, you start to see the code behind it because it's not fully there yet. But that idea just intrigued him so much that he wanted to explore it. This was a movie, I guess we kind of jumped ahead, but this was a movie I picked because this movie came out in 2013. I had just, this is the part where I have to get weirdly personal again, but that's what this whole thing's about, right?
Let's just cut the wound open and let it bleed.
Yeah, I was in a long relationship that ended, and I jumped into another long relationship immediately after that.
They tell you not to do that.
A month after that.
They tell you.
And
you know what they actually say?
What do they say?
You know what they say?
What do they say?
They say that it takes double the amount of time that you are actually in a relationship in order to get over the breakup.
Well, that's 8 years. I'm not going to do that.
I'm just saying. That's what they say.
The point is
Yeah.
that when this movie came out, I believe it was December of 2013, I was recently single.
Yeah, on the prowl.
No, I was not on the prowl. That's the whole thing. Is I said
prowl.
to myself, I am just going to be alone for a while. And I saw this movie by myself in a theater on a Saturday morning, alone. And it's a movie about loneliness. It's a movie about that feeling of alone. And it's a movie about a guy trying to find himself after a relationship ends. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to figure out what that means and who he's going to be. And can he be that vulnerable with another person again? And this Samantha helps him through this. And in a way that they both kind of get something out of it. I love this movie begins with him writing a love letter for someone else, with him like simulating emotions for other people, kind of like it's similar to the way that's you could argue Samantha is. He is simulating love between these two people that he doesn't feel. He's just reproducing it for them, and they might feel it for each other, but they can't even come up with the words. They hire someone else to do that. And the movie ends with him writing a letter to his ex-wife. Him writing a letter to his ex-wife that apologizes, that shows he's come to terms with what he did wrong in their relationship and is ready to move on. And there's that moment at the end where he's sitting on the roof and he and his best friend, played by Amy Adams, just have that moment where they look at each other, and you don't know what's in that look or not, but it's this moment of real companionship, some real bonding between two people, which we hadn't seen a lot of in this story. Both of them were either friends or in relationships with their OSs, and they were friends with each other. They hung out in social settings, but this was different. It doesn't even have to be romantic, but it was intimate.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the power of that kind of relationship, whether from an operating system or just someone that drops into your life at a certain time. I think that's great.
I agree.
And I love Spike Jonze. I think he's a fantastic director. He's got a very distinct style. You were talking about the colors of this movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reds and oranges, a lot of there's not very many blues. This is this is supposed to be LA in the near future, but it doesn't really look like LA. Nobody really dresses.
It was shot in Asia.
Was it?
It was.
It was supposed to be LA.
It was shot in Asia.
Cool.
I forget what city, but they said that
Hong Kong?
I don't think it was Hong Kong. I think it was Tokyo.
But everyone dresses a little differently. All the men wear really high-waisted pants.
Yeah, no one wears a belt in this movie.
All the women have collars. It's very Spike Jonze-y. Like, he has a very different, like Wes Anderson. He has a different way of looking and seeing things, and I think that comes across in a lot of the cinematography and how this movie was shot. I found it absolutely beautiful to look at.
I agree. It was beautiful. I kept on trying to think if I could pick up on like when they switched to the different colors, because thinking about like if it was red and it was more intense as to yellow whenever something had turned and was finally something went bad and went rotten, but I couldn't find it.
I do know that he is not wearing the brighter colors at the beginning of the movie. It isn't until it's in the flashbacks we see with his ex-wife, and then when he starts bonding with Samantha, the colors switch to the brighter, the less muted kind of color.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to rewatch it. I really liked the movie.
It was wonderful. I haven't rewatched this in a while, and I love this movie so much.
Yeah, it was really good. I was trying to think too, like what other Spike Jonze movies had I seen, and what other Spike Jonze movies are there that I might have seen?
Being John Malkovich.
I did see that. I really liked that one a lot, actually. That was good. So I've seen 2 at least.
Yeah, he just did
he did the iTunes commercial,
the Apple, the new speaker. Yeah.
Yeah, or not iTunes, but the Apple.
That's a really great commercial.
You said there was a longer bit on it on like YouTube or something.
Yeah.
They gave the whole thing. Did it kind of match the whole aesthetic to this?
I think it did.
The whole mission of it.
Yeah. He's done a lot of
Interesting.
music videos. He did Where the Wild Things Are. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I wasn't actually too fond of that one.
Really, I like that movie a lot.
Yeah. Wasn't my favorite. I thought the monsters were kind of scary for kids.
You know what else he directed?
What?
My favorite movie of all time.
What movie is that?
Adaptation.
Oh, gosh.
You're so mean.
Why?
Because I just said it's my favorite movie of all time, and your reaction is, oh, gosh.
I know. But you know how I feel about that movie.
Oh, gosh.
You know why I feel that way about that movie.
Yeah,
You do.
because you have an irrational hatred of Nick Cage.
And who else?
Meryl Streep.
Exactly. So put them together in the same movie, and
you
it's
get-
just like
and
a
you-
boom.
You get my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I learned something completely new about you. I think I appreciate that you picked a
I told you my
director
story
who-
about seeing this movie alone. You learned that.
Yeah, I did. I learned that. But I mean, I knew that you liked to go see movies alone. I think that this was probably a very sad one to go see alone, especially coming off of a breakup. But at the same time, I think it was probably good to be able to see how you can rebuild intimacy and relationships in a couple different ways, which I
Yeah.
think was probably good.
I will say I walked out of this movie feeling better.
Good.
I will not say that there weren't moments in this movie that were destroying me. Like
Yeah.
there are times in your life when a story, whether it be a movie or a book or a TV show, come along and just feel like they're made for you in that moment. And so you find yourself emotionally attaching to it more than you ever expected to. This was one of those moments for me. The time that I saw this, the place I was in, the place the movie is exploring, just seemed tailored for me. And I do remember walking out of the movie feeling like, hey, things are going to be okay. And I think that's great. And I think a lot of that, like, we haven't talked about the performances very much, but a lot of that is carried by Joaquin Phoenix, who, I was thinking about this today. I think he's my favorite actor.
Oh, wow.
I think he is one of the most talented, if not the most talented actor working today. I think that with the way he gets into his roles, and it's not even
He
like
does some weird roles.
he
but
does. He does
good
a
at
lot of
those.
weird roles,
Yeah.
but he really transforms himself. And it's not even like how he speaks. He changes how he holds himself. In this movie, he developed a tic, and the tic was pushing his glasses back up. He's wearing glasses, and it's so incredible to me that move of his felt natural, like that like it didn't feel performative. It just felt like this is a guy wearing glasses, and part of his, like, one of his tics is to just, even if they're not fully fall down his nose, he's just going to push them back up on the brim of his nose. And he does that kind of thing in every single role he's in. He develops these mannerisms and tics. I don't know if you've ever seen The Master, the Paul Thomas Anderson film. He is incredible in that. He's playing an alcoholic, and it's so good. And I was going back through his filmography and thinking about all his roles when I was kind of once again blown away by his performance when we watched this last night. And I can't think of an actor that that does better right now. And
He's really good.
yeah, he's in a movie coming out. I think it comes out limited this weekend. You Were Never Really Here. And it's supposed to be another, like, incredible Joaquin Phoenix performance.
Of course.
And I can't wait. I can't wait.
So does that mean we're going to find it this weekend because you can't wait?
If it's here, I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know if it's coming to
Oh,
Dallas.
I don't know. There are two things really quick that I wanted to talk about the movie, and I'm just going to touch on them briefly that I really liked. The first one was, I thought it was very well done that every single flashback to their relationship between Joaquin Phoenix and Rooney Mara, there was no dialogue. And I really liked that because you don't know what they're saying and why that's important. And a lot of the times they look happy, but even though you look happy, what you say could be taken completely different, and someone puts a smile on their face. And so you're seeing a relationship that's falling apart, and you're really just seeing it, and you don't hear why. And then you find out kind of towards the end, and that's not anything that I would have thought of based on what I had seen. And I really liked that a lot.
Yeah, and it's not even that there's no dialogue. It doesn't even, like, the soundtrack doesn't cut over to anything else. Like, you're still hearing the ambient
music,
sounds of the scene he's in. So it's almost, I think that makes it feel like it's flashes of memory, right? Like you're almost in his head in these moments when it just flashes to these moments that you're still hearing water running and things chirping and ambient noises, but these memories are flashing through your head, and they're just pictures and just like flashing moments. I loved that too. I thought that was a great stylistic device.
And the music is the other thing that I wanted to mention, because the music was, first of all,
Arcade Fire.
Beautiful. I love Arcade Fire, and I can't believe that I didn't know they had done the music for this, because had I known, I would have been all over that and probably seen the movie before now. But it was just absolutely beautiful, and it matched perfectly the whole feel of what everything looked like, which I think is sometimes it can be hard to do, but it was beautiful. And the song at the end,
the song ScarJo sings,
it was really beautiful.
We'll play that on this episode. I love that song.
Yeah, so I liked it as a whole. I would watch it again, definitely.
I'm glad you liked this.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
I'm glad.
This was good.
We're here nearing the end of the decade, and I'm starting to think about like what my top 10 of the decade would be.
Oh.
Mad
Max, Fury Road.
That's up there.
Yeah.
This would be up there too. This was my favorite movie of 2013. Absolutely.
And then The Revenant. I'm just kidding.
Why would you do that?
I'm just kidding.
Sullied. No.
You don't like it. I didn't either.
Yeah, that's her. This is a very important movie to me that I hadn't revisited, and I hadn't even remembered how important it was until I sat down and kind of refelt some of those feelings. So I'm glad that you appreciated it. Yeah. I like that. I'm glad
Thanks
we
for
got
letting
to
me
watch
watch it.
Yeah.
Thanks for picking it, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this thing up.
Okay.
With last week's discussion question.
What
was it, Elyse?
So last week's question was, we asked people, what was your biggest film blind spot? The movie that you really feel like you should have seen by now, but just haven't gotten around to it. So we got a lot of people answer today on the discussion thread.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead.
Before we get started.
Yeah?
You guys need to watch some freaking movies, because damn.
I will say, I kind of relate to some of the people who said that, maybe they don't necessarily feel like they have a hole because they watch a lot of movies, and there's not necessarily any that I'm just, like chomping at the bit in order to go and see. And so,
damn,
we've made it this far in life without seeing it, and we're still alive. So I think
obviously it's not going to kill you.
We're doing okay.
That doesn't mean that you shouldn't see these movies.
Maybe some of them I think was okay, but a lot of these are good movies. And we're going to start with what Robert said, because Robert said that the most shameful void in my film watching history is probably Aliens. He has seen Alien vs. Predator. That's AVP, right?
Yes.
And Predator. 1, 2, and S?
Predators.
But never got to watching Aliens, Alien 3, or Alien Resurrection, not to mention the prequels. They're on his list, but maybe he'll bump them up a few spots. I mean, that's a lot of movies in that franchise, and so I think you should just watch the ones that are good.
Watch Aliens. Watch Alien 3. You're good on the rest.
And then stop there?
You're good on the rest.
I saw Alien vs. Predator. I saw Alien.
Alien vs. Predator is bad.
I know, my dad really wanted to see it.
You just delete that movie out of your mind, and in its place, put Aliens, which is a great movie, which Elyse hasn't seen either.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Robert.
If my dad finds out about that, he's gonna lose his mind, Elyse.
Maybe we'll watch it with him.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. All right.
What else we got, Scott?
Kevin Has a whole bunch.
Kevin!
It's a Home Alone joke. I'm sure he's never heard that before.
I know, I just wanted to do
Elyse
it.
is like, she has cracked herself up. She thinks she's the most
That was a pretty
hilarious.
good. That was a pretty good impression,
It was
right?
a good impression.
I
Yes.
thought so.
Kevin has not seen Pulp Fiction, Schindler's List, Doctor Strangelove, Apocalypse Now, Braveheart.
I kind of stopped putting the ones
Kevin
Kevin hadn't
has not
seen
seen
on
a
the
lot
list
of things.
because it was like I was scrolling through, and then
Yeah.
he was like, "You know what? No, I haven't actually seen that. I haven't actually seen it." And he had a good justification for it.
Yeah.
You
So,
know, so that
out
was
of,
fine.
Out of the ones that he has listed, what do you think Kevin needs to see first?
Okay, let's see here. I have seen the only two that I've actually seen off of his list are Pulp Fiction and Braveheart.
You've seen Doctor Strangelove. We watched it together.
Did I though?
Ugh. Elyse, you made me
Did
buy
I?
that movie. And then
It's a
you
cool
didn't.
cover.
Oh my god.
I mean, I liked Pulp Fiction. It was okay. I think that there are a lot of the iconic things in pop culture that are taken from it. So I think that that would be a good one to watch just to understand that. Braveheart,
I think the best movie out of all these is Schindler's List.
well, that's because you like Spielberg too.
It's not just because I like Spielberg. It's a very good movie.
It's one of the
But Schindler's List, like, I understand. Like, you haven't seen Schindler's List.
I have not.
And I understand why people haven't seen Schindler's List. We were talking about this on the thread today. This is a movie that you have to be in a certain mindset to watch this movie. And that's not a mindset that comes across every day.
Yeah.
So I can understand that. Apocalypse Now is a really good movie, but it's another one of those, you better be in a certain frame of mind while seeing it. I think out of those, Pulp Fiction is probably the easiest to just sit down and watch because it's
Yeah.
just a really enjoyable, fun movie that's really well done. So,
Braveheart's long.
yeah, but important. It's an
Yeah.
important movie.
And Andy is going to actually join you, Kevin, on not seeing Schindler's List. That's one of the voids that he has to fill. But he also has another movie called Jaws.
Andy, go watch Jaws.
Jaws is really good.
Andy, go watch Jaws.
I really encourage you to watch Jaws.
Jaws is probably, out of all the movies that people listed here, Jaws is the most important. Jaws defined what the modern blockbuster was. Go watch Jaws.
And then get the wrong poster from the Jaws on the Water.
Let it go.
It's the one poster that
Let
was beautiful
it
that I was going to let you
go.
hang outside in the living room. But now we don't get any movie posters in the living room.
There's a beautiful poster that Mondo.com made, and they had two versions of it. One was a blue one was a red variant, and I asked for the blue one. They gave me the red, and by the time we noticed it and went to correct it, they had sold out of the blue ones, so I didn't get it, and Elyse will never, ever let me forget it.
That's what women are for. Yep.
All right, Elyse, what's next?
Wonkieth said that Angel's Egg is the movie that he thought.
What's that?
I don't know.
It's an animated film. I believe it's from
his
Japan.
biggest film, Blind Spot, is Everything by Satoshi Kon.
Okay.
I've never heard of either of those movies.
Maybe that's our biggest blind spot, too.
It could be.
All right. Enamored.
I'm shaking my head right now.
Enamored says
Shaking my head.
the original Star Wars
Who are
trilogy.
you?
The
Who?
original Star
Where
Wars
have you
trilogy.
been? Buried under a rock?
I am very surprised at that, too. I didn't know that anyone who liked movies or who watched movies had not seen these movies. I'm sure, Enamored, you have a perfectly good reason, but you should probably...
You know what I really
probably
like?
just take a weekend and go watch Star Wars.
Is that somehow in my classroom this year, not somehow, because I have my tables for table points named after planets from Star Wars, so I'm sure it comes up just without me knowing it, information about Star Wars. But the fact that some people haven't seen any of the Star Wars movies, like the original ones, and then one little boy who is like Star Wars knowledge seeker of all was trying to spoil like the big reveal about Darth Vader.
People don't know that?
I don't know if they know or if they don't know. They're 10 years old. Do they know?
They have to know.
I don't know if they know, but I don't want them to find that out in my class and miss that reveal. That's like so cool. That would be like me watching that Terminator movie and then they're being like, oh, no. So I'm sorry,
Wait, what?
Enamored, if you The Terminator thing. You were like, is he good? Is he bad? I don't know.
It's not comparable.
Anyways,
I think everyone knows that Darth Vader is Luke's father.
Now, Enamored might not have known that,
He
and
knows.
you ruined it.
He
We've
knows.
ruined it for everyone.
Oh my god, everybody knows.
Kiefer said that Hot Fuzz was the biggest void for him, but he actually recently saw it on Netflix, so we're really proud of you. Way to find time to fill
Good
that
job.
void.
Good job, Kiefer.
Now you just got to find that other movie-sized hole in your heart.
I have so many movie-sized holes in my heart.
I know you do.
Hot Fuzz. I love Edgar Wright. And Hot Fuzz is really, really great. I used to say Hot Fuzz was my least favorite of his films. And then I watched it again recently. I don't know anymore. It's a good-ass movie.
All of them are that bad. Huh. I'm just kidding. I
Get
like
out
Edgar
of
Wright.
here. Get out of here.
My name is Baby. I'm really good at impressions.
He's not Elvis.
Baby.
That is not what Ansel Elgort
Baby?
sounds like. Sierra Grau says there are a few Pixar movies.
Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah.
Oh.
That I don't know. There are a few Pixar movies that they missed out on. Inside Out and Ratatouille being the biggest ones, and they'll watch Coco when it comes on streaming. Yeah, I like Ratatouille a lot, but Inside Out is a masterpiece. I think you should see that movie post haste.
Yes.
All right, Elyse, what's the last response?
TMS, not the RMS, which might be confused with the movie that he has not seen. Titanic.
You haven't seen Titanic.
Near, far, wherever you are. And might I just say that during the movie we saw tonight, and they had the little piece of metal that they were trying to help each other with, I was like, there's room for two of you on the piece of metal. Don't you let go. Don't
Stop
you let
spoiling
go.
A Quiet Place.
Anyways, I had that in my head
Okay.
because I was like from the Titanic, so it just made me think of the Titanic tonight. But I mean, it's completely understandable as to why he wouldn't have seen it. He was too young whenever the movie came out, only 8 years old. He probably wouldn't have enjoyed it when he was 8 anyways. And it's a long movie, so you just haven't really seen it. But I'm glad a coworker summarized it for you. And, it is a lot more exciting than you might think. It's a good romantic movie, so
I like it. It's not a bad movie.
it's a good Saturday laundry movie. So put it on.
I think it's very well made. James
Be doing
Cameron's a good
things around
director.
the house. Yeah, it's good. But Scott, what are we going to do next week?
Oh, next week. Well, we were trying to come up with something, and Ready Player One came out last week. So
It did,
So
didn't
the
it?
world has been talking about Steven Spielberg a lot, and we thought
Let's do it too.
let's do it too. So next
Choo-choo,
week,
jumping on that train.
next week is Spielberg week, and we're each going to pick our favorite Steven Spielberg movie. Elyse, what did you pick?
Who's the hook? Who's the hook? Hook, hook, hook.
I
Bum
cannot-
ba-dum 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 bum bum. It's Hook.
Elyse picked Hook,
I love Hook.
widely considered to be Steven Spielberg's worst movie.
Or best.
Yeah, so Elyse will be talking about Hook.
What'd you pick?
I thought about this for a long time. There are so many good movies that I would love to talk about on here, but if we're going back to the movie that probably defined my childhood more than most other things of Steven Spielberg's, I would have to say Jurassic Park, so that's what I picked.
Bum, 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 bum,
Yes.
bum. Bum, 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 bum.
Okay, so yeah, next week we were talking about Hook and Jurassic Park, and
Both John Williams scores, if I do believe. John Williams and Steven Spielberg.
there's like
They're a great
40 movies
team.
to pick from, and you picked Hook.
I picked the best one.
The question to go along with this
Yeah.
is naturally,
Yeah.
what is your favorite Steven Spielberg movie?
That's what I was thinking too.
And why is it not Hook?
Exactly. Why is yours not Hook?
Because Hook
I
is
hope
bad.
everyone picks Hook. I hope at least more than just me picks Hook.
I
I
can't-
love that movie.
I can't wait to go back and watch Hook and for you to realize
It's
how
not gonna happen.
how bad Hook
Nostalgia is a powerful thing.
All right. That's all we have time for this week. If you like this podcast, you can check it out and all the other shows we do over at dailyplanetfilms.com. Also, head on over to our Patreon account, patreon.com/dailyplanetfilms, and consider donating $1 or whatever else you can afford. You get access to a whole bunch of cool things, including our Discord chat, which is where all these conversations about movies that you people haven't seen somehow and drive me crazy. That's where all that conversation's going down, so check that out. Also, if you are listening via iTunes, we would love it if you would go there and leave us a rating and a review. Every review helps us get more exposure and introduce new people to the podcast, and we get to read them.
We do.
Speaking of which, Elyse, do we have a new review to read
We
today?
do. We do.
Who's it by?
Us.
I think that's Kevin.
Us.
That would be Kevin.
Otherwise known as us.
What did Kevin say?
Kevin said that Vow to View is an incredibly entertaining podcast, and it is almost criminal that Scott hasn't given Elyse a platform before now. I agree. The premise of the show is incredibly strong, and the adorable chemistry of the Dalys ensues. Each episode is worth listening to. Elyse's singing and the weekly unsolicited food advertisements are the definite highlights. You're welcome.
Thanks, Kevin.
I will continue to eat.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kev. Kevin!
All right, guys. We will see you next week to talk some Spielberg. See you then.
Bye-bye.
Why don't you make up the words to this one? Okay. Here it comes.